we look at the term color revolution, for example. Color revolution signifies neoliberal revolution, trying to overthrow an authoritarian regime, transform it into a neoliberal order. Then, of course, green revolution, red revolution, black revolution, yellow revolution, they're all color revolution. If you ask Gongsun Long, he would say, no, yellow revolution is not a revolution. That may sound absurd to a social scientists who look at the revolution and define revolution, and then look at the yellow revolution. Of course, yellow revolution is kind of a revolution, so it's part of revolution. You would expect yellow revolution exemplify the same revolutionary stuff in yellow revolution. But color revolution already signify neoliberal order. So if you call all those yellow revolution, red revolution, you just call them color revolution, then you immediately silence why yellow revolution is yellow, who represent yellow. All those local conditions disappear. You automatically assign neoliberal message to all the local revolution, whichever color they use. So that becomes problematic. So Gongsun Long would say, white horse, not horse. Horse cannot determine the practice or characteristics of a white horse. So a color revolution, even though you name it, if you give it a name, you signify a revolution being color revolution, you cannot decide whether it is neoliberal or not. In other words, you cannot decide whether they're trying to overthrow an authoritarian regime or not. So white horse is a horse. A second example why the social science way of categorizing things is problematic is if you look at many categories that we use cannot really have a clearly defined substance. In our case, that would be the GlobalSouth. A lot of people would be considered part of GlobalSouth, but if you look at them, they're so different. It's almost impossible to gather a set of substance that can assign to the identity of these people and call them all belonging to GlobalSouth. But all these people might be willing to be signified as GlobalSouth. So it is those who are signified initiate their being the GlobalSouth. Supposedly the GlobalSouth is a signifier. It tells you where the GlobalSouth is or who belongs to GlobalSouth. But in our case, it's almost the opposite. It is people who appreciate themselves being signified as part of GlobalSouth. So I think it is problematic. It would be problematic if we look at GlobalSouth from social science point of view. Social scientists probably would not accept GlobalSouth as a legitimate category, as they have no common leadership, they have no common values, they subscribe to no common rules, they don't get themselves involved in a common event, they never act together in union, they even fight each other. So you don't have a meaning of GlobalSouth from a social science point of view. They don't even have a common enemy. I mean, this is very weird. At least you can create someone coming from an alien, so people come together to fight in order to save the Earth. So you have something in common at the minimal extent, but no, not in the sense GlobalSouth. But I think Gongsun Long's way of understanding category provide alternative to social science categorization. For Gongsun Long, a category is only legitimate if it cannot determine those measures of people event signified as part of category. What they do, what it means when they practice nurture, they're belonging to that category. Only if a category cannot intervene or determine or influence what will happen when the category taking place in a local condition, can that category be legitimate? That's very interesting. That opens up the category, right? It's more like the signifier to determine whether you belong to a category, rather than the category determining who belongs to the category. That's almost like a GlobalSouth. Then people, of course, will ask, so which comes first? Is the category come first, or the local category, or the general category? Which one comes first? I think that's the question in social science is definitely asked. But that's a question Gongsun will never ask. It doesn't make sense to me to ask which comes first. So he has this theory about a chicken has 3 legs. I think that's what gets me into comparing social science categorization and the Gongsun Long's way of categorizing things. According to Gongsun Long, a chicken has 3 legs. Not just left legs or right legs, that's just name them right leg and left leg. Which is the third leg? Most people, I think, in the later generations consider the category leg is the third leg. You must have the category which is leg, which tells you legness, what legness is all about, so you can identify where legs are. But I don't think that's correct. If legness represents the third leg, then hoarseness would represent the second horse. When Gongsun Long rode the white horse, trying to pass the entrance into castle or wherever, where the guards refused him because according to the rule, the guard command, that no one riding horse can enter and pass the entrance. So Gongsun Long debated the guard that he was not riding on horse, he's riding on white horse. If hoarseness represents a horse, then Gongsun Long would simultaneously riding a white horse and a horse. Then he would have lost the debate. If he rode a horse, he cannot enter the gate. Right? So the third leg could not be the category leg or the legs, the general category of leg. So I have the imagination, I interpret Gongsun Long's third leg being the chicken's body, which connects the 2 legs so that you can recognize the 2 legs through the body that connects the 2 legs, so that you can consider the body of the chicken being the third leg, which allows you to identify which direction the chicken is moving. If you look at the leg, you know which direction the chicken is moving, but if you look at the body, you see which direction the chicken is moving. So the chicken is just like a leg, right? But then you don't know which leg will move the chicken, because the left leg, according to Gongsun Long, is not a leg. The right leg is neither the right leg is a leg. So they're all different because they're local legs. You cannot use the general category legness to tell you what the left leg is or what the right leg is. So we can use the metaphor. We can consider the right leg as strategic essentialism and the left leg as strategic de-essentialism to understand the global south. So you have a global south which can be completely different thing, contingent upon which legs embody the global south. If we see global south coming together, people coming together, calling themselves global south, develop this sense of solidarity. We are together. We want to support people starving in Gaza. So all those people, huge population coming together, including population which is supposed to belong to the global south. So we know global south is much greater in scope than what we used to consider global south, since migrants or even liberal subscribers in the so-called global south countries join force with everyone else to provide foods to the starving Palestinian Gaza. So you see some kind of a strategic essentialism that define the global south around the genocide taking place in Gaza. So genocide and sympathizers with the victims of the genocide define the global south very clearly in that particular event. So we have strategic essentialism. But then that could soon disappear in a month or two, or in a year or two, that disappear. And you see people belonging to the global south fighting each other for some inches of territory, or decoupling from each other economically in order to satisfy the hegemonic power, which try to impose major sanctions or alliances on us for us to do certain things willingly or unwillingly. So the global south could disappear. So on the other hand, you could see all those people connecting each other in ways that cannot be named or signified in our social science language. So you have this some kind of a de-essentialism to connect people across borders. Then you also have some kind of a global south. But then you have connectivity between two actors in one way, two particular actors in one way, and two other particular actors in a different way. So you have many modes of connectivities connecting population all over the world in many, many different ways, in multiple ways. So you will never see all of them connected at the same times in the same mode. You will never see that. But they're all connected. Like parts and wholes, they're all connected in different ways, multiple ways. So you can call that strategic de-essentialism, which disembody the global south to the extent that all this connectivity disallow social science from seeing the global south. You cannot see that, they're disembodied. So you have embodiment of the global south through strategic essentialism. You have disembodiment of the global south through strategic de-essentialism. And that will move the chicken in different direction. So the chicken can be a signifier of an actor or an entity which willingly be signified as global south. For example, Myanmar, or Saudi Arabia, or Shanghai Cooperation Organizations, or the ASEAN. Anyone who would want to be signified as the global south can be signified by a concrete chicken. Each of them is a chicken body. But you don't know which way Shanghai Cooperation Organization will move until a particular conference come out as a particular result, or looking at the process of their gathering, you see some of them still quarreling each other, like India and Pakistan, or India and China. So you don't know whether this particular Global South entity would disembody Global South, or embody Global South, or in whatever way. So you have a chicken body possibly moving in different directions and potentially moving into different directions simultaneously. That will not allow you to see them as a Global South entity. But you cannot say that they are not. So you cannot see them as a Global South entity from social science point of view, even though they want to be seen as a Global South entity, but you cannot see them. But through Gongsun Long, you can see them. You can see a chicken with two bodies, with two legs moving into different directions. So the body may be dancing or maybe moving circles in ways that it doesn't make sense for anyone who wants to see rational movement. You don't see rational or consistent movement. So you have chicken. Then it happens when God with this genocide, all different chickens moving all different directions in circles, coming together. They emerged in union to rescue starving people in Gaza. So the Global South suddenly emerged, and social scientists where they come from. You don't see that. You don't see the mechanism that they come from. So, but the Gongsun Long can explain. Explain in ways that a category, which is the Global South, is the result of a lot of people claiming themselves in Global South, rather than Global South has a fixed substance that can enable whoever in the Global South to recognize each other. It's not. It's people claiming themselves in the Global South. But that doesn't help, because that doesn't tell you how they're going to act, because you don't know who should act, who should act. Will act. But you know they have some way to connect to each other, but each in a different way. So you cannot systematically enact a particular mode of connectivity. We cannot do that. So that's how Gongsun Long's theory of chicken three legs inspired me into understanding the Global South as a category. You have to have a category in order to have people willingly being signified as part of Global South. So you cannot get rid of the category simply because it doesn't dictate how people belonging to Global South would act. You cannot get rid of it because it is the foundation of the signified process. But it doesn't dictate, it doesn't predict. And for Gongsun Long, I think that's the legitimate signifier. So it's almost time.